The first time Lila Hart backed into me and whispered, "Stay like this," I was standing perfectly still in a hotel room I had paid for alone, staring at one bed like it had personally betrayed me. To be clear, that was not how my weekend was supposed to go. My name is Theo Miller. I was 26, an architectural renderer in Chicago, and I had flown to Savannah for a regional design conference where I planned to do three simple things: present my team's waterfront proposal, avoid hotel coffee that tasted like printer ink, and not develop feelings for the woman who had spent the last 6 months beating me by half a step at every professional turn. Lila was 25, a junior interior designer with Bailey and Rhodes, which meant she had the kind of eye that could make a lobby feel like a memory, and the kind of mouth that could politely dismantle your entire concept in front of a client. The first time we met, she said my lighting plan was emotionally confused. I said her fabric palette looked like it had unresolved childhood issues. She laughed once, then tried not to. After that, rivalry became our native language. We were not enemies. Enemies don't notice when you switch cologne. Enemies don't remember how you take coffee. Enemies don't look across crowded meeting rooms like they're daring you to say what both of you are thinking. But we were careful. Workplaces turn attraction into gossip faster than a cheap hotel hairdryer burns out. And I had already learned what happened when you mistook chemistry for character. 2 years earlier, my ex had left me in the middle of a lease, a joint vacation fund, and one very public office Christmas party where everyone pretended not to watch me fall apart next to the shrimp tower. Since then, I kept things simple. Clean lines, clear exits, no office romances. Then the hotel lost Lila's booking. It was a little after 11 at night when I found her at the front desk of the Magnolia House Hotel, standing under a brass chandelier in a charcoal coat, her cream blouse slightly wrinkled from travel, her dark hair twisted up with a pencil because apparently some women could survive a delayed flight and still look like they belonged in an old movie. Her suitcase leaned beside her like it had given up first. The desk clerk, a thin man with red-rimmed eyes and a name tag that said Preston, typed like the computer had insulted his mother. "I'm sorry, Ms. Hart," he said. "I don't have anything under your name." Lila's smile did not move, but her eyes sharpened. "Try Bailey and Rhodes." "I did." "Try Hart, Lila, Hart." "I did that too." "Try the confirmation number I have shown you 3 times." Preston swallowed. From 10 feet away, I knew that look on her face. It was the same look she gave contractors who said, "We've always done it this way." I should have kept walking. Really, I should have taken my key card, gone upstairs, brushed my teeth, and pretended I had not noticed the tiny tremor in her fingers as she held her phone. Instead, I heard myself say, "Everything okay?" Lila turned, and for one strange second, all that practiced sharpness softened. Then she saw it was me. "Oh, good," she said. "A witness. If I disappear, tell them I was last seen being murdered by hospitality software." Preston looked alarmed. "She's joking," I told him. "I'm deciding," Lila said. I stepped closer. "They lost your room?" "They claim I never had one." "I'm not claiming," Preston said weakly. "I'm just reporting what the system says." Lila held up her phone. "The system sent me a confirmation email, charged my card, and wished me a pleasant stay. The system and I were in a committed relationship." I tried not to smile. Failed. She caught it. "Don't enjoy this." "I'm not." "You absolutely are." "A little." The corner of her mouth betrayed her first. Then Preston delivered the punchline no one wanted. "We're fully booked tonight. The conference, 2 weddings, and the storm rerouted several flights. I can call around, but most nearby hotels are full." Outside, rain slapped the tall windows hard enough to rattle them. Savannah had chosen drama. Lila lowered her phone slowly. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked small. Not weak. Never that. Just tired in a way that had slipped past her armor. "How far is the nearest room?" she asked. Preston. Clicked, frowned, clicked again. "There's a place by the interstate about 40 minutes out, maybe." "In this weather?" I said. Lila looked at me. "I can drive. You almost fell asleep standing up 5 seconds ago." "I was resting vertically." "You have a gift." "I have several. You just pretend not to notice." That landed closer than she probably intended. For a second, neither of us spoke. Preston cleared his throat. Mr. Miller, you're checked in already, correct? I nodded, though I immediately disliked where his eyes went. Your reservation is for a king room. Lila and I both looked at him. He lifted both hands. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm simply saying housekeeping confirmed all rooms with 2 beds are occupied, and Mr. Miller's room is one of the larger ones. There may be a chair. A chair, Lila repeated. A comfortable chair, Preston said, then visibly lost confidence. Possibly. I looked at Lila. You can take my room. I'll figure something out. She shook her head immediately. No. Lila. No, Theo. I'm not stealing your room because a hotel computer had a breakdown. I'm not letting you drive 40 minutes in a storm after a flight delay. Her eyes narrowed, but not in anger this time. Letting me? I held up both hands. Poor verb. Terrible verb. Withdrawn. Good. I'm strongly advising you not to drive 40 minutes in a storm after a flight delay. Better. And offering the room. She studied me for a long second, like she was trying to find the angle. Lila always looked for the angle. Maybe that was why I liked her more than was convenient. She didn't just accept easy kindness. She inspected it, tested it, made sure it could hold weight. You'd really give it up? She asked. Yes? Why? Because I'd noticed the tremor in your hand. Because the thought of you alone on a wet highway made my chest tighten. Because every time you walk into a room, I pretend not to look first. I said, because I'm a decent person when sleep deprived. She let out a quiet laugh. It was softer than her usual laugh, less polished. It went right through me. Preston tapped something. For what it's worth, I can send up extra blankets. Lila closed her eyes for half a second. When she opened them, she looked at me, and the rivalry between us shifted into something warmer and far more dangerous. We split the room, she said. I take the bed. You take the possibly comfortable chair. That sounds fair. You're very agreeable all of a sudden. I'm scared of you. You should be. Upstairs, the room was beautiful in the useless way hotel rooms are when they become a problem. Tall windows, rain-blurred city lights, a writing desk, a velvet armchair that looked elegant and medically hostile. And one bed. Not one bed and a sofa, not one bed and a chaise, one enormous bed dressed in white sheets, sitting in the center of the room like a dare. Lila stood beside me, took it in, and said, Well, yep, that chair's decorative. That chair hates spines. She glanced at me. You can't sleep in that. I've slept in airports. You were younger then. I'm 26. Exactly, practically brittle. I laughed before I could stop myself. She smiled, and for a moment, the storm, the conference, our careful rules, all of it fell quiet. Then thunder cracked so loudly the window shook. Lila flinched. It was fast, almost nothing, but I saw it. She hated that I saw it. I'm fine, she said. I didn't say anything. You were about to. I was about to say the chair has personality. Liar. Occasionally. She unpinned her hair, and it fell around her shoulders in loose, dark waves. I looked away like a gentleman and felt ridiculous because I had already noticed everything. A few minutes later, after we negotiated sleep like 2 attorneys dividing an estate, she disappeared into the bathroom with her overnight bag. I changed into a t-shirt and joggers and committed myself to the spiteful chair. When Lila came out in soft blue sleep pants and an oversized white conference t-shirt, she stopped. You're really going to sleep there? That was the treaty. The treaty was signed under emotional distress. Yours or mine? She looked at the bed, then at the chair, then at me. You can sleep on the other side, she said carefully. Above the covers. No weirdness. No weirdness, I repeated. And if you snore, I'm smothering you with a decorative pillow. Reasonable. We climbed into opposite sides of that bed with the stiff formality of 2 people trying very hard not to admit they were aware of every inch between them. The lights went out. Rain filled the dark. For a while, neither of us moved. Then Lila whispered, Theo? Yeah? I'm not actually scared of storms. Okay. I just hate the seconds before the thunder, the waiting. That was more honest than anything she'd ever said to me in daylight. I turned my head toward her shadow. I know that feeling. She was quiet. Then another roll of thunder built outside, low and heavy. Lila shifted, not away, toward me. Her back brushed my chest. Once. Barely. We both froze. I'm sorry, she whispered. You're okay. The thunder hit. This time she didn't flinch away. She backed into me fully, careful and trembling, until my arm was trapped awkwardly between us, and my heart was doing something deeply unprofessional. I could have moved. I probably should have. Instead, I whispered, Do you want me to move? Her hand found my wrist in the dark, and she said so quietly I almost missed it, Stay like this. There are moments in a man's life when he discovers the exact limits of his self-control. Mine were shaped like Lila heart pressed against me in the dark. She smelled faintly like rain, hotel soap, and something warm I couldn't name. Her back fit against my chest in a way that made it difficult to remember we were coworkers, rivals, and technically sharing a bed because of a clerical disaster. My arm was still trapped between us. Her fingers circled my wrist, not tightly, but with enough intention that I understood moving away would be a choice. So I chose not to. Is this okay? I whispered. Her thumb moved once against my skin. Yes. That one word did more damage than any flirtation she'd ever thrown at me across a conference table. Outside, the storm rolled over Savannah. Inside, we lay still, breathing in careful increments like any sudden movement might break whatever strange truce had settled around us. After a while, she said, You're very warm. I can apologize. Don't you dare. I smiled into the dark. Another minute passed, then she added, Also, your heart is loud. That's because you're leaning on it. That's not the only reason. I should have denied it. We were both good at that. Denial was practically part of our professional skill set. Instead, maybe because it was dark, maybe because her hand was still around my wrist, I said, No, it's not. She went quiet. I felt the change in her immediately, not pulling away, listening. That sounds dangerous, she whispered. It probably is. We have a presentation tomorrow. Technically, today. Don't be precise at me while we're making bad decisions. I laughed softly and she shifted closer as if my laugh had tugged her there. We're not making decisions, I said. No? We're just staying like this. Her hand slid from my wrist to my fingers. She threaded them together under the blanket. It was such a small thing. Smaller than a kiss, smaller than a confession. It still felt like crossing a border. Okay, she said, then stay. I did. And somehow, impossibly, I fell asleep. When I woke, pale morning light washed across the room and my arm was numb from shoulder to fingertip. Lila was still in front of me, her hair spread over my forearm, one foot tucked between my ankles like she had negotiated property rights during the night. For 5 full seconds, I didn't move. Then her phone alarm went off with a bright, cheerful melody that should have been illegal. Lila jerked awake, rolled over, and ended up face to face with me. Close, face to face. Pillow sharing close. Her eyes widened. Mine probably did too. Good morning, I said, because apparently I wanted to die. She blinked once. Twice. Then she looked down at our tangled hands. You're in my personal space, she said. You imported me. I was under duress. You called me warm. You were, objectively. And loud-hearted. Her lips twitched. Also objectively. I became aware all at once of her knee against my thigh, the soft collar of her t-shirt slipping off one shoulder, the fact that neither of us had pulled away yet. Her gaze dropped to my mouth. It was fast, not fast enough. My breathing changed. She noticed. Of course, she noticed everything. Theo, she said quietly, yeah? If we kiss right now, we're going to be late. I swallowed. If we don't kiss right now, I said, I may still need a minute. A laugh escaped her, sleepy and low, and the sound nearly undid me. But then she sat up, taking her warmth with her. No kissing before coffee, she said, climbing out of bed like she had not just rearranged my entire bloodstream. I have standards. I lay there staring at the ceiling. Is that a hard rule? It's a civilized rule. I can get coffee. She glanced back from the bathroom door, hair messy, eyes bright. That, she said, is the first intelligent thing you've said all weekend. 20 minutes later, we stood in the hotel lobby with coffee cups and 2 conference badges hanging from lanyards. The storm had washed the city clean. Sunlight hit the wet streets outside, turning everything gold. Lila sipped her latte and made a face. Printer ink, she said. I warned you about hotel coffee. You didn't warn me enough. I'll do better next time. She looked at me over the lid of her cup. Next time. We both heard it. Neither of us corrected it. The conference center was attached to the hotel by a glass corridor filled with designers, developers, city officials, and people wearing black turtlenecks with religious commitment. Our teams were scheduled to present competing redesign concepts for the same historic riverfront property. Mine leaned modern and open, lots of steel lines and public space. Lila's firm had done the interiors and adaptive reuse plan for the other proposal. In other words, by 9 o'clock we were supposed to be charming different people into choosing different futures. Instead, we walked side by side like a couple sneaking back from a secret. At the ballroom entrance, Lila stopped me with 2 fingers on my sleeve. I looked down at her hand. She removed it, then seemed annoyed at herself. About last night, she said. My chest tightened. Okay. I don't want to pretend it didn't happen. That was not what I'd expected. No? No. She took a breath. I also don't want it used against me when I destroy your presentation in the Q&A. Relief hit so hard I laughed. There she is. I'm serious. So am I. I leaned a little closer, lowering my voice. Last night happened. I'm glad it did. And I still intend to make your concept look overly nostalgic and underventilated. Her smile came slowly. You always say the sweetest things. I try. She studied me, and beneath the banter, something honest flickered. I'm glad too, she said. Then she walked into the ballroom, leaving me with coffee, a conference badge, and the distinct feeling that I had not imagined any of it. Her presentation was excellent, infuriatingly excellent. She stood on stage in a cream blazer, hair smooth now, voice clear and warm, as she described restoring the old warehouse not as a monument, but as a living space. She talked about wood worn by shipbuilders' hands, about light through original glass, about public rooms that invited people to stay instead of simply pass through. I hated how good she was. I loved watching her be good. At one point, she glanced toward the side wall where I stood with my team. Our eyes met for half a second. She did not smile, but her hand touched the inside of her wrist where mine had been during the night. I nearly forgot my own name. Our presentation came after lunch. I was halfway through discussing pedestrian flow when I saw Lila in the 3rd row, arms folded, expression unreadable. Then I reached the rendering of the central promenade. Her eyebrow lifted. It was a small challenge, a dare. So I stopped following the rehearsed script. The point, I said, clicking to the night view, isn't to erase what was there. It's to make room for what people might feel there. The riverfront shouldn't just be efficient. It should make someone want to slow down. Stay longer. Maybe look at the person beside them and realize they've been paying attention for a while. Silence. My project manager stared at me like I had started speaking in poetry, against medical advice. But Lila's expression changed, softened. There she was again, the woman from the dark, the one who reached for my hand. Afterward, I escaped into the corridor, pulse still too fast. I'd barely made it 10 steps before Lila appeared from behind a display wall. That was new, she said. What? Feeling. I have feelings. Allegedly. I stepped closer. Did it work? The presentation? That too. Her smile faded into something more vulnerable. Yes, she said. It worked. People moved around us in the corridor, laughing, networking, collecting branded pens. But she looked at me like we were still in that storm-dark room. I kept thinking about last night, she admitted. During my slides, during yours, I kept thinking that I shouldn't have asked you to stay. Why? Because now I know what it feels like when you do. The noise of the conference seemed to drop away. I wanted to touch her, not accidentally. Not because thunder scared her or sleep blurred boundaries, because I wanted to. So I set my coffee on the nearest brochure table and held out my hand. Lila looked at it. "What are you doing?" "Asking." "For what?" "A walk." 10 minutes, no design jargon, no pretending. Her gaze lifted to mine, then she put her hand in my hand. We slipped out a side door into a small courtyard bright with wet brick and jasmine. The air smelled clean, and for once neither of us rushed to fill the quiet. At the far end, under a black iron balcony, Lila turned to me. "I'm not good at this," she said. "At walking?" "At wanting something I can't control." I brushed my thumb over her knuckles. "Me neither." "Liar, you control everything." "Not around you." Her eyes searched mine. Then she stepped closer, rose onto her toes, and kissed the corner of my mouth. Not quite a full kiss, a warning shot, a promise. She drew back just enough to see what I'd do. I chose her. I cupped her cheek and kissed her properly, soft at first, then less soft when her fingers curled into my shirt and she made a small sound that went straight through me. When we parted, she was smiling. "No kissing before coffee," I said. I had coffee. It was printer ink. "Don't ruin this." I laughed against her forehead. For 10 minutes, we belonged only to each other. Then my phone buzzed. A message from my project manager lit the screen. "Where are you? Judges want both teams back. There's an issue with the bid." Lila read it over my hand. Her fingers tightened in mine, but she didn't step away. "Come on," she said, eyes still warm from the kiss. "Let's go be brilliant." And hand in hand, we went back inside. The issue with the bid turned out to be a typo, a missing addendum, and 3 senior partners behaving like someone had set fire to a cathedral. By the time Lila and I reached the review room, 12 people were gathered around a conference table covered in renderings, laptops, coffee cups, and the brittle silence of professionals pretending not to panic. My project manager, Nina, spotted our joined hands first. Her eyebrows climbed. I let go of Lila too quickly. Lila noticed. Of course she did. Her expression didn't change, but something shuddered in her eyes before she stepped toward her own team. I wanted to grab her hand back. Instead, I stood there like an idiot while a city official explained that one of the budget documents in Bailey and Rhodes's packet referenced an outdated structural report. Since my firm's proposal had used the current report, there was concern Lila's team's numbers were inaccurate. It could disqualify them. Lila went very still. Her boss, Martin Bailey, a silver-haired man with expensive glasses and the warmth of a locked filing cabinet, said, "That's impossible." The official slid the document forward. Lila leaned over it. I watched her eyes move line by line. Then her face changed. Not fear. Worse. Recognition. "This was in the shared archive," she said quietly. The old file and the revised report had nearly identical names. Martin's jaw tightened. "You prepared the final packet?" "Yes." The room seemed to tilt toward her. I hated it. Not because she needed rescuing. Lila did not need rescuing. Because I could see exactly how hard she was trying not to look devastated. Nina touched my elbow. "Theo, don't." I hadn't realized I'd moved. Across the table, Lila lifted her chin. "The design assumptions remain valid. The revised report affects reinforcement cost, not spatial planning." "It affects the budget," Martin snapped. "Yes," she said, voice steady, "and I'll recalculate it." "You'll recalculate it?" he repeated, cold enough to frost glass. My temper flared, but Lila looked at me then, just once. Not pleading. Warning. Don't make this about you. So I didn't. I chose her the way she needed to be chosen, by respecting her fight. I kept my mouth shut until the meeting broke apart. The officials gave Bailey and Rhodes until 8 that evening to submit corrected numbers. My team was dismissed. Lila's team scattered into controlled chaos except Lila, who gathered the flawed packet with hands that were too precise. I waited near the door. She came out 5 minutes later, walking fast. "Lila, not now." I followed her into the quieter hallway. "I'm not here to lecture." "Good, because I have a boss for that." "I know." She stopped so abruptly I almost collided with her. Her eyes flashed. Do you? Yes. No, Theo, you don't. Her voice dropped. You don't know what it's like to be the youngest person in the room and have everyone waiting for proof you were a bad investment. That's not what happened. That is exactly what happened. An old file got used. I used it. And now you'll fix it. She laughed once, sharp and humorless. Very motivational. Put it on a mug. I flinched. She saw that too, and anger drained out of her face, leaving exhaustion behind. I'm sorry, she said. You don't have to be easy right now. Her mouth trembled like she hated that I'd said something kind. I don't want you seeing me like this, she whispered. That hurt more than the snap had. Like what? Messy, embarrassed, not brilliant. I stepped closer, slowly enough that she could move away. She didn't. Lila, I said, I kissed you because you're you, not because you never picked the wrong file. Her eyes searched mine. That sounds suspiciously healthy. I know, I'm alarmed too. A reluctant smile pulled at her lips, then disappeared. I have to work. Then let me bring you real coffee. No. Food. No. A sacrificial intern? That got a breath of laughter. I can't accept help from the rival team. I'm not offering professional help. I'm offering human snacks. Her gaze softened. You're very annoying when you're decent. I've heard. She looked toward the ballroom, then back at me. 30 minutes. I need to find the revised quantities sheet. After that, if you show up with coffee, I won't throw it at you. High praise. Don't get used to it. 30 minutes later, I found her in a small business center off the lobby, surrounded by printed spreadsheets and the haunted glow of a laptop screen. Her blazer was off, sleeves rolled to her elbows, hair twisted up again with that pencil. I set a sandwich, 2 coffees, and a paper bag of pralines beside her. She stared at them. I said coffee, she said. I heard emotional emergency. You bought sugar. I panicked. She picked up a praline, broke it in half, and handed me the smaller piece. There, she said. Rations. We ate standing at a narrow counter while her spreadsheet recalculated. It should not have felt like a date. There were fluorescent lights, a printer jam, and a framed print of a sailboat that looked deeply sad. But Lila leaned her hip against the counter beside mine, close enough that our sleeves touched, and suddenly the room changed. Tell me something, she said. About the structural report? About you, something inconvenient. I looked at her. Inconvenient? I gave you messy. Your turn. Fair. I stared into my coffee. After my ex left, I became the guy who always had a backup plan. Extra charger, separate finances, exit strategy for every room. Lila went quiet. She really hurt you, she said. Yeah. And now? Now I'm standing in a business center feeding pralines to a woman whose boss might combust, and I have no exit strategy whatsoever. Her eyes warmed. That is inconvenient, she whispered. Deeply. She brushed sugar from my lower lip with her thumb. The touch was small. Devastating. You missed some, she said. Did I? No, she admitted. Then she kissed me. It wasn't like the courtyard kiss. That had been sunlight and surprise. This was coffee and sugar and nerves. This was her stepping into me with one hand fisted lightly in my shirt, choosing comfort without apology. I slid my hand to her waist and she exhaled against my mouth, like she'd been holding herself together by force until that second. When she pulled back, her forehead rested against my chin. I'm scared, she said. I closed my arms around her. I know. I hate that. I know that too. She laughed weakly into my shirt. Stop being good at this. I'm not. I'm improvising. Well, keep improvising. So I held her in the bad lighting of a hotel business center while the printer clicked and her spreadsheet blinked. And for a few minutes, no one asked her to be brilliant. Then her laptop chimed. She turned, scanned the screen, and straightened. I found it, she said. The corrected reinforcement line item. If I adjust the phasing and reuse the east wall supports, the overage drops. That's good? That's very good. Her face lit with concentration, fierce and beautiful. I stepped back. I'll leave you to it. She caught my hand. Don't go far. 3 words, quiet, unpolished. They hit me harder than any kiss. I won't. For the next 2 hours, I stayed in the lobby, not hovering, not interfering, just near enough that when she emerged with ink on her fingers and triumph in her tired eyes, I was there. She submitted the corrected packet at 7:42. At 7:46, Martin Bailey walked past her without saying thank you. I watched her shoulders drop half an inch. Then she looked across the lobby at me. I held up the last praline. Her smile came back. Not all the way. Enough. She crossed to me, took it, and said, "If I lose this bid, I'm blaming you." "Why me?" "You're distracting." "Professionally?" "Catastrophically." I leaned in. Good. Her eyes dipped to my mouth, but before either of us could forget we were in public, Nina appeared behind me. "There you are," she said, gaze bouncing between us. "Theo, our team dinner moved to 8. Partners want everyone there." Lila's smile faded politely. "My firm has one too," she said. Nina looked uncomfortable. Actually, Bailey and Rhodes canceled theirs. Damage control, I think. For a second, Lila said nothing. Then she nodded like it didn't matter. But I knew it did. Nina left. The lobby noise swelled around us. I looked at Lila. "Have dinner with me." She blinked. "Theo." "Not networking, not pity, dinner." "We're waiting on bid decisions. They won't announce until morning. My boss canceled your dinner." Her mouth curved despite herself. "You're very quick with loopholes." "I render buildings for a living. I understand openings." "That was terrible." I panicked again. She looked down at the praline in her palm, then back up. "A real dinner?" she asked softly. "A real dinner, you and me. No spreadsheets unless you miss them." She took a breath, then she smiled, small and daring. "Okay," she said, "but if you take me somewhere with hotel coffee, whatever this is between us ends immediately." Whatever this is. My whole chest answered before my brain could. "Then I'll choose carefully." Her eyes held mine. "You already did," she said. I chose a narrow little restaurant 3 blocks from the hotel, the kind with fogged windows, uneven brick walls, and candles stuck in old wine bottles. Lila paused outside, reading the hand-painted sign. "Seafood and jazz," she said. "Too much?" "No." She glanced at me. "Suspiciously good. I contain multitudes. You contain panic and pralines. Also excellent reservation instincts. You made a reservation?" "I called while you were recalculating steel costs." Her expression shifted, softening in a way that made my ribs feel too small. "You planned a date while I was having a professional crisis?" "I planned dinner," I said. The date part was hopeful. Lila's smile went slow and warm. "Hopeful looks good on you." Inside, the hostess led us to a table near the window. Rain still clung to the glass, turning the streetlights into gold streaks. A saxophonist played something low in the corner, and for the first time all day, Lila's shoulders truly lowered. She slid into the booth. I sat opposite her. Then she raised one eyebrow. "What?" I asked. "You're very far away." "There is a table between us. Traditional restaurant design." Emotionally confused, I laughed. "You're never letting me forget that, are you?" "Not if I can help it." She nudged my ankle beneath the table. It was not accidental. I looked down, then back up. Lila took a calm sip of water, eyes bright over the rim. So this was how it was going to be. I hooked my ankle lightly around hers. Her mouth parted on a tiny inhale she tried to disguise by reaching for the menu. I felt victorious for approximately 4 seconds before she said, "Careful, Miller. I revise budgets under pressure. I can revise you too." "Promises." Her gaze snapped to mine. The air between us changed again, candlelit and charged. Our waiter appeared at exactly the wrong moment to recite the specials. Lila ordered shrimp and grits. I ordered blackened fish. We both ordered wine because apparently we had agreed to be brave. When the waiter left, she folded her hands on the table. "So," she said, "no spreadsheets." No spreadsheets. No work. No work. No pretending? I leaned forward. Definitely no pretending. Her fingers worried the edge of her napkin. I liked when you held my hand today, she said. The confession landed quietly, but it stripped every joke out of me. At the ballroom? At first, before you dropped it like evidence. I winced. I'm sorry. I know why you did it. That doesn't make it okay. No. She looked at the candle. It just made me feel foolish for wanting you not to. I reached across the table, palm up. She stared at my hand. I should have kept holding on, I said. Her throat moved. And I'm not saying that because I want to look noble now. I panicked. I thought about gossip and our firms and how complicated everything could get. I took a breath. But the truth is, I wanted to hold your hand more than I wanted everyone else to be comfortable. Lila placed her hand in mine. Her fingers were warm from the candle. That's a dangerous sentence, she whispered. I'm having a dangerous weekend. I noticed. The waiter brought the wine. We separated just long enough to smile politely like two normal people. Then her foot found mine again under the table. Dinner tasted like butter, pepper, and the specific joy of sitting across from someone who kept surprising me. Lila told me she'd grown up outside Asheville, in a house her parents renovated room by room for 15 years and never quite finished. My mother said houses should always have one unfinished corner, she said. So they still had a future. That explains your work. It explains my commitment issues. I smiled, but she didn't. Oh, I said softly. She looked out the window. I'm good at beginnings, concepts, first impressions. I'm less good when things become real and people can leave marks. You think I'd leave marks? I think everyone does. It was so honest I had to be careful with it. My ex did, I said, and for a long time I thought that meant I should keep every room clean enough to exit. Her gaze returned to mine. And now? Now I'm starting to think empty rooms echo. Lila's eyes shone in the candlelight. That was unfairly beautiful. I've had wine. You've had half a glass. I'm very efficient. She laughed, and the sound loosened something in me. After dinner, we walked back slowly beneath my umbrella. The rain had softened into mist. Savannah smelled like wet stone and flowers, and Lila walked close enough that our arms brushed with every step. Halfway down the block, she slipped her hand into mine. No thunder, no crisis, no excuse, just choice. I looked at her. She looked straight ahead, cheeks faintly pink. Don't make a thing of it. I would never. You're making a face. My face is deeply respectful. Your face is smug. It's romantically moved. That's worse. I tugged her gently under the striped awning of a closed bookshop. Before she could ask why, I set the umbrella aside, framed her face in both hands, and kissed her. She made a soft, surprised sound, then kissed me back with both, hands gripping my coat. Rain tapped the awning above us. A car hissed past on the street. The whole city seemed to blur around the warm insistence of her mouth. When we broke apart, she stayed close. That was very much making a thing of it, she said. Yes. I didn't object. I noticed. Her fingers smoothed my lapel, slow and absent. Theo? Yeah? I don't want this to be just a hotel mistake. My heart turned over. It isn't. We live in the same city, work in the same circles, compete for the same clients. I know. I might be difficult. You are absolutely difficult. She pinched my side. I laughed and caught her hand, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. I'm serious, she said, though her voice had gone softer. If we do this, I need honesty, not convenient honesty, not only in the dark honesty. I thought of the ballroom, my hand letting go. You'll have it, I said. She studied me for a long moment, then she nodded once. Okay. One small word, a door opening. Back at the hotel, the lobby was crowded with conference people and wedding guests escaping the rain. Lila and I stepped inside, still holding hands. This time, I did not let go. Nina saw us from near the bar, so did two people from Bailey and Rhodes. Someone's eyebrows lifted. Someone whispered. Lila's fingers tensed. I looked down at her. Still okay? She looked at our joined hands, then up at me. Instead of answering, she leaned into my side. That was answer enough. We rode the elevator up in silence, but it wasn't awkward. It was full. Her shoulder against my arm. Our reflections in the brass doors looking almost like people who knew what they were doing. When we reached the room, the one bed waited with smug familiarity. Lila kicked off her shoes. I suppose we should discuss the sleeping arrangement. I can take the chair. She gave me a look. Theo. It has grown on me. It has not. No. She stepped closer, tilting her face up. You can sleep beside me. Above the covers? Her eyes dropped to my mouth. Let's start there. Start. The word stayed with me while we changed separately, brushed teeth, and pretended not to smile at each other in the mirror. When the lights went out, we lay facing each other this time. No storm needed. Lila reached for me first, sliding her hand over my waist and tucking herself against my chest. I wrapped my arm around her and she exhaled like she had arrived somewhere. Stay like this, I murmured. Her laugh warmed my throat. You're going to use that against me forever. Only romantically. Idiot. But she kissed the base of my neck. I closed my eyes, every part of me aware of her wanting more, choosing not to rush past what she was offering. After a while, she whispered, If tomorrow goes badly, I tightened my arm. Then tomorrow goes badly. That simple? No, but I'll still want breakfast with you. She went still. Then her hand slid up to rest over my heart. Loud again, she whispered, for the same reason. Her lips brushed mine in the dark, gentle and lingering. We fell asleep tangled together. Near dawn, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I ignored it. It buzzed again. Lila stirred against me. If that's Hotel Coffee calling to apologize, hang up. I reached blindly for the phone and squinted at the screen. A message from Nina. Call me before the announcement. Bailey is claiming your team had access to their corrected numbers. I sat up slowly. Lila pushed herself up on one elbow, hair tousled, eyes still soft from sleep. What is it? I didn't want to hand the tension back to her. Not yet. Not after the way she'd trusted me in the dark. But convenient honesty was not the deal. I gave her the phone. She read the message. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then Lila looked at me, hurt and worry mixing in her face. Theo, she whispered. Tell me you didn't. For one terrible second, I understood exactly what Lila saw. Me sitting beside her in the bed we had shared. Me from the rival firm. Me, the man who had waited in the lobby while she corrected the packet, who had access to her tired smiles, her trust, her hand in mine. Theo, she whispered, tell me you didn't. I got out of bed slowly, like sudden movement might crack us both. I didn't. Her eyes stayed on mine. I hated that she had to ask. I hated more that I understood why. I never saw your corrected numbers when I said, Wait, Ada, I didn't ask. I didn't look. I wouldn't do that to you. She sat up, holding the sheet against her chest, vulnerable in a way that had nothing to do with clothing. My boss will make this ugly, she said. Then we stay honest. Her mouth trembled. Convenient honesty? No. I stepped closer, then stopped before touching her. The kind you asked for. She looked at my outstretched hand. For a moment, she didn't move. Then she took it. Not because everything was solved, because she chose to believe me before the room did. I brought her knuckles to my mouth and kissed them once. Thank you, I whispered. Her fingers tightened. Don't make me regret it. Never. We dressed quickly and went downstairs together. The review room was colder than the lobby, all glass walls and polished table, and Martin Bailey stood at one end, looking like he had been waiting to punish someone. Nina was there with my firm's partners. The city officials sat between the two teams, grim and caffeinated. Martin looked at our joined hands, his expression sharpened. Well, he said, that explains quite a bit. Lila's grip faltered. This time, I did not let go. No, I said. It explains nothing about the bid. Martin's eyes slid to me. Mr. Miller, your team's revised cost comparison includes a number remarkably close to our corrected reinforcement estimate. Nina interrupted. Because both firms use the same revised structural report and city labor tables. Similar inputs produce similar outputs. Martin ignored her. Ms. Hart spent hours correcting our packet last night. Mr. Miller was seen with her repeatedly. Lila went pale, but her voice held. Theo didn't see my spreadsheet. You expect us to take your word? Yes, she said. The room went quiet. She stood straighter. And if my word isn't enough, check the hotel business center logs. Check the file timestamps. Check the shared printer queue. I submitted from my laptop under my login at 7:42. Theo was in the lobby. I looked at her then, pride rising so hard it almost hurt. She wasn't asking me to save her. She was standing beside me. A city official tapped at his tablet. We already requested the access logs when the concern was raised. Martin blinked. You did? The official nodded. The corrected Bailey and Rhodes file was never opened by anyone outside your firm before submission. Mr. Miller's team uploaded their comparison at 7:39, 3 minutes prior. Nina exhaled. Martin's face tightened. Lila's hand went still in mine. The official continued, There is no evidence of improper access. No apology came from Martin. Men like him treated apologies as structural weaknesses. But Lila didn't look at him. She looked at me. The question in her eyes was quieter now. Still here? I brushed my thumb over her fingers. Always, if you'll let me. The bid announcement came 20 minutes later. Neither of our firms won. A third proposal from a New Orleans studio took it with a community financing plan nobody had expected. The room filled with polite clapping and private disappointment. Lila stared at the announcement board, then let out a small laugh. I leaned close. Are you laughing because we lost? I'm laughing because after all that drama, we both lost. That's very mature of you. I contain multitudes, panic and pralines, and excellent taste in men, apparently. My heart stumbled. She turned to me fully in front of officials, bosses, rivals, everyone. I believe you, she said. I swallowed. That may be my favorite thing anyone's ever said to me. Don't get used to it. I'm still going to challenge your pedestrian flow assumptions until one of us retires. Romantic. Realistic. I smiled. Have breakfast with me. Her eyes warmed. After public professional humiliation? Especially then. We skipped the conference buffet and found a cafe with real coffee and biscuits so good, Lila closed her eyes on the first bite. Careful, I said. People will think you're having feelings. I am having feelings, mostly about butter. Should I be jealous? Of this biscuit? Absolutely. Our knees touched under the little table. This time there was no accident, no excuse, no storm. She reached for my hand beside the coffee cups and laced our fingers together. I was scared this morning, she admitted. I know. Not just of the accusation, of how quickly I wanted to believe you. That's not like me. What is like you? She smiled faintly. Interrogation, defensive architecture, emotionally devastating fabric commentary. I like all of it. All of it? All of you. The words came out before I could polish them into something safer. Lila went very still. Then she leaned across the table and kissed me, soft and certain, tasting like coffee and butter and relief. When she sat back, her cheeks were pink. Okay, she whispered. Okay? I like all of you too. Outside, morning sunlight spread over wet Savannah streets. Inside, the world narrowed to her hand in mine. By the time we flew home to Chicago, we had rules. Real ones. We would tell HR before gossip told them. We wouldn't discuss confidential projects. If our firms competed, we'd keep boundaries clean. And if either of us got scared, we'd say so before we started building exits. Lila added one more rule at the airport gate. No terrible hotel coffee. That's not a relationship rule. It is now. 3 months later, she left Bailey and Rhodes for a small studio that valued her without making her bleed for approval. 6 months after Savannah, my firm and hers collaborated on a library renovation, and she spent 40 minutes arguing that my reading nook lighting was romantically underdeveloped. I married her 2 years after the hotel lost her booking. We held the reception in a restored warehouse by the river in Chicago. There were unfinished brick walls, warm lights, and one deliberately unfinished corner because Lila said every home should still have a future. At the end of the night, after everyone else had gone blurry with champagne and music, she pulled me away from the dance floor to a quiet hallway. Her hair was coming loose. Her lipstick was mostly gone. She looked at me like I was still the man in that storm-dark hotel room, trying not to move because she had asked me to stay. Then she turned, backed into my chest, and guided my arms around her waist. "Stay like this," she whispered. So I did. And this time, there was no lost booking, no one-bed crisis, no thunder waiting outside the window. Just my wife leaning back against my heart, smiling because it was still loud for the same reason. What would you have done if the hotel lost her booking? Your room had one bed, and she backed into you whispering, "Stay like this"? Have you ever experienced anything even close to that kind of unexpected closeness? Tell your story in the comments. And for those who'd like to be a little closer to us, we've opened memberships where you'll get shorter exclusive stories every week with no ads. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.